right, everybody. The next part of this lesson is about another law called law of sines. Okay, this warm-up is a law of cosines problem that we just went over, so I'm not going to do it, but it is worked out on the notes key that I will post for you on Classroom. Okay, this next law is called law of sines. Okay, this next law is called law of sines, and it uses the sine of the angle. And if you'll notice in the formula, sine of angle A over side A, length A, I should say, is equal to sine of angle B over length B, which is equal to sine of angle C over length C. Okay, so to solve problems with this, you'll use two of the three ratios. You'll make a proportion and cross multiply to solve. Okay, to use this law, you need, to use this law, you need one opposite pair. You need one opposite pair of a side and an angle. So you need a side length and its opposite angle. Okay, you need a side and an opposite angle. Okay, a side and an opposite angle. If you don't have that, you can't use law of sines. So if we look at example 1, okay, if we look at example 1, we see that we do have angle B and we have side B. That's an opposite pair. That is an opposite pair. Okay, so we can set up our proportions using that ratio. I guess y'all, I'm responding to a couple questions, so bear with me for just a minute. All right, so to set this up, I like you putting the sine of the angle on top. It really doesn't matter as long as you keep it consistent, as long as the A's are all in one fraction, and as long as the B's are all in one fraction, as long as the C's are all in one fraction, this all works. Okay, so sine of 56 over 6 is one of our proportions. Then if we want to find A, we need to use angle A. We don't have angle A, but we have the other two angles in the triangle. So how can we find angle A? How can we find angle A? Subtract from 180, yes. 180 minus 56 minus 42. 180 minus 56 minus 42. Okay, so that angle is 82 degrees. Right? Yeah. Okay, that angle is 82 degrees. So we can use it, sine of 82 degrees over side A that we're looking to find. Okay, we don't need C. We only need two of the fractions to make a proportion. Okay, so to solve this for A, think cross multiplying. Okay, think cross multiplying. I'm going to multiply the 6 by sine of 82. And that's going to get divided by sine of 56. Actually, I'm going to do this. Hang on. Okay. Cross multiplying. 6 is multiplied by sine of 82. That's going to be equal to the A we're looking for times sine of 56. Okay. Then to solve this for A, we'll divide by sine 56 on both sides. Okay. That gets A by itself. We can put this in the calculator. I would not get a decimal for that top for that 6 times sine 82. Would not worry about a decimal for it and writing it down. I would just type it in the calculator just like this. 6 times sine of 82 divided by sine of 56. Okay, so sorry, 6 times sine of 82, then divide that by sine of 56. What did I do here? 9 radians. Yep. All right. Make sure you stayed in degrees there. If you're on a calculator or the calculator app, it did. I closed Desmos and it closed it out. So to the nearest thousandth, to the nearest thousandth, 7.167. Okay. And side A is 7.167. Okay. Now, to find side C, I would use the same process. Okay. And I would start again with the A's. Nope, sorry, with the B's, because that's what we were given. Okay, we were given the B's. So I would start again with sine 56 over 6. And this time that's equal to sine of C, 42, over little side C. Okay, I went back to the B's, the sine 56 and the 6, because those were given to me. Those are not rounded numbers. Okay, so since those are the ones given to me, those are the ones I'm going to use. Okay, then again, cross multiply to solve. Okay, cross multiply to solve. It'll be 6 times sine 42. Okay, equal to C times sine 56. Okay, so we'll end up dividing by that sine 56. And we can calculate what side C is equal to. 6 times sine of 42 over sine of 56. So 6 times sine of 42, all that over sine of 56. One thing you do need to be really careful of, in the calculator is once you finish sine 42, you need parentheses at the end of the 42 before you hit the divide key. Okay, otherwise that denominator won't be in the denominator. It'll still be inside the sine function on top. Okay, so 4.843 here is that solution. So C is 4.843. Okay, questions here? All right, let's take a look at example 2. Okay, we don't have the triangle drawn, but we can draw our own. Okay, triangle ABC. Side little a is opposite the triangle from angle A. So little a is 6. Angle B is 60 degrees. Angle C is 42 degrees. And we are looking for side B. Okay. To use law of sines, we would need one side and one angle opposite from each other to be known. Okay. Now, we can actually get there because we have angles B and C. We can find angle A. Okay. So 180 minus 60 minus 42 means that angle A is 78 degrees. Okay, so we have the A's that we can use in this setup. Okay, we'll use sine of 78 over 6. If we're looking for B, little b, we need to use sine of angle B, sine of 60 over side little b. Okay. To use law of sines, you need one angle and one side opposite it to be known, to be given to you. Then you can find any of the other parts. Okay. So solving this, 6 is multiplied by sine of 60. And that would be equal to sine of 78 multiplied by B. Doesn't matter which crisscross you do first, as long as it gets, as long as you keep everything consistent. So we'll divide by sine of 78 in order to solve. Okay, 6 sine of 60 over sine of 78. All right, so 6 sine of 60, 6 times sine of 60, close that parentheses, then divide by sine of 78. Okay. So rounded to the nearest thousandth, that is 5.312. Okay, 5.312 rounded to the nearest thousandth. And that would be feet because there are units in the problem. Okay? Questions here? All right, I'm not seeing anything here. So let's go on to you try. We're given the triangle. Okay, we know the angle J is 88 degrees. It looks like a right angle, but it's not quite. Okay, we know that side little t is 4, and the angle T is 53 degrees. Okay, since we have that angle and its opposite side length given to us, I would use law of sines. It's a little bit easier to plug into, a little bit easier to work with. Okay, so I would be using law of sines here. So I'm going to say sine of 53 over 4 is equal to, I have angle J, so I'll find those first. Sine of 88 over little j. Okay. All right, solving that. Okay, we'll multiply 4 by sine of 88. And then we'll end up dividing that by sine of 53. And that's j. So side j is 5.005. Now, that's a rounded value. Okay, that is a rounded value. So I'm going to try not to have to use it again in another formula or another situation. Okay, so I'm going to use law of sines again to find the b's. So we'll start with that same sine 53 over 4 because it's the opposite pair that was given to us. Okay, then set that equal to sine of b over little b. We will need to calculate angle b, okay, but we can do it easy enough. 180 minus 53 minus 88. That makes angle B 37 degrees. So when we cross multiply to solve this, this will be 4 times sine of 37, okay, over sine of 53 to get that B by itself. If we put that in the calculator, B is 3.014. And there's our value of B. Good. All right, any questions? There's the bottom of that. You can see it a little better. Any questions on this example or any of the previous ones? Okay, then that's it for the notes section of today's lesson.